Hello there and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. I'm Guz and joining me once again is Raven. We're coming off the back of a pretty spicy matchup between Team Sinister and Wildcard. Wildcard edging out on top, taking that series 2-0. But Raven, it's time for a new matchup now, Elevate versus LFO.
Yeah, it is time for a new matchup, and this is going to be a really interesting one and tough one to call for a few different reasons. The main one being LFO are quite the dark horse. They got in through the open qualifier for the spot that Fnatic left behind. And we don't know how they're going to match up against these Pro League teams. We haven't seen them in an official capacity against teams of this caliber. While we did see them against Sinister in LPL, that's still, different circumstances. The prize pool's different. The stakes are different. It's really going to be tough to see how they are going to match up.
Make sure you guys have your say on who you will think will win this matchup at Rainbow6ANZ on all of your favorite social medias. And of course, you can participate in the poll. But as you mentioned, this matchup's going to be so tough. LFO, the one and only team that have qualified for Six Masters 2020 through the open qualifiers. And correct me if I'm wrong, they only dropped one map, so they've got some pretty good form.
Yeah, that's correct. Only one map, and it was against PC 419. And that was in the semi-final of the upper bracket, which meant they flawless the upper bracket final and flawless the actual grand final. So pretty dominant fashion for them coming here, but I'm sure that's about to change up for them. They're against the first seeded team coming out of Pro League, which is Elevate. First seed because Fnatic has pulled out. But regardless, Elevate had a fantastic Pro League season, and I would be surprised if that was to change here for Six Masters.
Yeah, Elevate definitely looking like a scary team at the moment. If I was LFO going into this first one, I'd be a little bit nervous. But let's have a look at that lineup. Let's bring them up and see who will be playing this evening for LFO. Some names here that I'm sure some people are unfamiliar with outside of ANZ, but many of these have become household names in the Tier 2 scene. And of course, now you could argue they're Tier 1. Run us through what we can expect on this team, Raven.
Well, the most recognizable name for most people is probably going to be Hills. He did play with Acme for a while there in Lust, Six Masters notably, playing at the Six Masters LAN at Melbourne Esports Open. That team now Pittsburgh Knights. But he's a pretty nutty fragger, pretty impactful for the teams that he's played on before. So keep an eye out for him. But these other guys, many people might not know of. Keep an eye out for Angmo. I've seen him go off a little bit before. It's hard to say exactly how they're going to go. Their roles have changed since I last casted them, which was an LPL amateur game a long time ago, it feels like, at least, probably 8 months ago. So, yeah, some unknowns here, like we were saying before, that could create this X factor.
A lot of question marks there for LFO, and I guess that then raises the question itself is, could that pose issues for Elevate? Because going against a team that you may not have a lot of information about can be quite challenging. Let's bring up that Elevate roster and see what we can expect from them tonight. All these names now should be quite familiar. They've stuck together since Season 11 of Pro League, where you mentioned they finished second. So they are definitely looking strong heading into Six Masters.
Some solid form coming in, finishing second to Fnatic, and only by a couple of points, which really came down to the head-to-head series that they had, where they dropped one map to Fnatic. So it could have completely gone the other way. In fact, Elevate really could have finished on top of ANZ. So they got a lot ahead of them here. Recognizable names. God Legion, of course, is a big standout. A fragger that can go absolutely off and one of the best in ANZ. And that's not to discount the other guys. It's just that God Legion is the one that seems to get the highlight clips. But either way, this is a dominant roster that has proven time and time again that they can continue to step up and be consistent.
Yeah, definitely looking quite scary, I would say, on surface value. That's probably the word that I'm going to use to continually describe this roster, is just scary. They have a little bit of a fear factor about them at the moment, coming off such a strong Pro League season. Of course, a lot of the skills and traits that they have acquired and learnt from that Pro League season will transition over here into Six Masters. I guess now we can look ahead to maybe what we can expect in the map veto. You mentioned earlier with Silex that it is quite a different format now, can definitely play into some different strategies. Any maps that we can maybe expect to see here or insta-ban from either team from what we know so far?
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Border or Theme Park is another insta-ban. Probably Border. Elevate don't play Border a whole lot. We saw them play it against Fnatic both times because they were single best of ones. Yep. But that was like the only time I've seen them play it in probably the last 12 months, competitively at least. So against a team like LFO, I would not be surprised if that's their ban. But LFO, again, such an unknown, and I think that's going to be the point where it was hard for Elevate to prep a bit, maybe not having a massive depth of knowledge in the maps that LFO are good on.
Well, guess what? The map veto is ready and waiting for us. Let's have a look at what maps will be banned out first. Of course, each team getting one ban. It's going to be Villa by Elevate and Border by LFO. So you're half right on that one. Border will be taken out. Leaving Theme Park, I guess, still in the pool. Of course, 5 other maps are still available for these teams to pick.
I mean, the surprise for me there is it's kind of the opposite of what I was expecting. I thought Elevate would ban Border because it's a bit of an X-Factor map that maybe an unknown like LFO could be good on. But also Elevate have been pretty good on Villa before. So banning that out, maybe that's something that they have with inside knowledge, maybe through scrims with LFO or other means. But either way, that's left a lot of good maps in play here.
Well, of course, it is a best of 2 series. Each team gets 1 map pick each. Let's see where we'll be heading for this series soon. Okay, well, we can theory. Oh, there we go. Bang, right on point. Consulate and Clubhouse. Okay. I'm not too sure what to expect here, at least from LFO, because again, we don't have a lot of information that you would consider, I guess, comparable or transferable to this sort of level of play. For Elevate, they did take on TBD, must have been in the final week of Pro League, and drew. So, yeah, but again, it's a long time ago. The game's changed, so I don't know, I wouldn't really be taking that as gospel for now.
I mean, the other thing to point out with Elevate as well is they had a good season overall in Season 11, but they did lose Geo in the break to Wildcard. And they've had a bit of time to grind in with Worthy. And the fact that they've had the break now means that they can refine that a lot. So this could be an even more refined Elevate than we saw in Pro League, which is going to spell a lot of danger for LFO. And Elevate have done all right on Consulate in the past. It's been one of those 50-50 maps for them, though, where they've had some close games or even some blowout games in both directions. So maybe there's something there they see counter-wise in Consulate that has led them to that pick.
Well, I'm asking you this every series. Who do you think is going to come out on top? For me personally, I'm probably going to have to back Elevate 2-0 just because they're first seeded in this tournament, coming off a strong season of Pro League, and LFO are basically fresh meat. What are your thoughts?
I have to agree. Elevator just looked too good coming out of Season 11, even after they had a roster change mid-season. So coming up against a team like LFO, sure, they had a great run in open quals. This is a completely different scenario, and their previous experience is LPL, which is, again, a completely different scenario to this. And I just unfortunately think for them, this is going to be their rude awakening to the Starter 6 Masters.
All right, well, we're heavily favouring Elevate. Let's see what you guys at home think. Let's bring up the results for the community poll and see who is the favourite. That's going to be Elevate, 71%. Probably not even as one-sided as I really expected, so there must be some LFO fans out there.
Yeah, a bit of support behind them there, but I think in general the results justify a lot of what we're talking about and what people think. I think it's really fair to have that thought process. But yeah, a bit of backing behind LFO, and you know what? This is their chance to prove that they deserve an org, because of course their name is LFO, looking for organization. If they're able to topple Elevate, well, that's a massive statement.
Yeah, all right, well, let's have a look ahead at Consulate. It's going to be the first map, of course, that Elevate did select. If you're LFO in this scenario, of course, you're going up against the other team's pick. What can they be doing on this map in particular to try and tame some of the confidence that I think Elevate really try and bring to a lot of these matches than they have done previously?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, because I think coming at Elevate with a lot of aggression and just trying to be a little unpredictable might be a way to destabilize them. And maybe what you need to do is target a bit of a mindset play. If you are able to get some spawn peaks, jump outs, that kind of thing, while they're high risk, high reward, it could put Elevate off their game to the point where you take them out.
All right, well, the ban phase is waiting for us. Let's jump into it. It's Elevate taking on LFO. Now, we've seen Ying and Thatcher banned in both maps tonight thus far. Wonder if that trend will continue. It won't. LFO taking Nomad off the board, and maybe that's to allow them to bring some more aggression to the table.
Definitely. I mean, they're on defense first, and Nomad is a fantastic tool on Consulate, not just for those jump outs, but flanks on the stairwells. Nomad covers that beautifully. So not having that to worry about is going to be helpful to run around. And of course, Thatcher is not going to survive another attack ban phase. He's out. So there'll be at least 3 of the 4 map scars with no Thatcher.
Most importantly, though, Ying has made it through this ban phase. Of course, Ying in the most recent patch has been buffed, now has smokes and an extra Candela, so a lot of utility clearing potential from her. So expect these teams to bring her in some of these rounds at least, as we see Valkyrie and Echo round things off.
I like the Valkyrie ban because we were talking about what LFO might need to do to destabilize Elevate, and that being run outs or jump outs. And that's heavily facilitated by an operator like Valkyrie. Getting those cameras outside or getting cameras in tricky positions inside to enable you to flank. And with that not now an option, that means that there's going to be not as much sneaky utility that LFO can utilize.
Basement will be the first bomb site selected here by LFO. Of course, cafeteria and garage. 6-pick coming out from Sogs, he'll jump onto Vigil, and Red onto IQ. I think we've seen quite a bit of 6-pick usage so far tonight. I felt like there was a period of time there where the 6-pick was not being utilized a whole lot by teams. So maybe we're seeing that come back into trend a little bit here.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing that you would say, well, why not use it? Because it gives you a small edge somehow over your opponents. Unless, of course, you get droned out in the prep phase, but hiding operators in reveal phase can be really valuable, and we saw that happen a little bit in the first series with 6-picks being utilized to enable counters. So that Montaigne pick, when Sinister first chose it, they hadn't brought it before and they didn't show it in reveal phase, so there was no traps chosen by Wildcard to counter. That kind of thing can happen.
Of course, if you are just joining us, LFO only qualified for Six Masters 2020 off the back of the open qualifiers. The spot was left open by Fnatic, who elected not to accept it. And then LFO fought their way through that bracket, only dropping 1 map in the process. So great form through the qualifier, but this is just a whole nother beast, taking on some of the best teams here in ANZ. Elevate being no exception, the #1 seed heading into this tournament. So if LFO can even win a few rounds here or there and just use this as a learning experience at the very least, I think this will be quite a valuable series for them in the long run.
They do get to start on defense, which might create some kind of comfort for them. Generally, teams feeling more cozy on defense than attack. There is less pressure in a way because you don't have the clock to worry about. In fact, the clock is your friend when you're defending. So that's one thing they can hold to help them. And God Legion here on the Ash, looming in admin, pre-firing some of those stalls. We're not finding anybody. He does see the peek out, but doesn't manage to hit a shot. His entry is now taking a bit of time here, but there's a pinch starting to happen with Vast on the printer window, and God Legion does finally get that pick onto Sogs. So a successful entry from Elevate.
Sogs managing to deplete a minute. Maybe not quite as much as he would have liked, but it's better than nothing. That is the Vigil taken off the board. Hills, though, he's upstairs as well. Of course, previously played for Acme, who made it to the LAN for Six Masters 2019. Just falling short to then Mind Freak. God Legion, though, he shuts him down as I try to give him a nice little speech. Just being absolutely unleashed already here on map #1, and you alluded to it earlier, Raven. He's definitely one of the bigger fraggers here in ANZ.
Absolutely. I think it's almost 2 seasons in a row where he's been top 3, if not top, in terms of frag count. So he's a man to watch out for, and the fact he's playing Ash is going to spell doom for somebody like LFO who might be caught off guard, or of course they're going to be feeling a bit of pressure. This is the big stage for them. They've never played with anything with higher stakes as this against teams with the caliber of Elevate. So that's got to be weighing on their minds to some extent.
And I guess that's really got to be on Hills, who has sort of been in these pressure scenarios with these kind of stakes, to really stabilize his team and just reassure them that you can't let the pressure get to you as much as it may be prevalent against a team like Elevate. The rest of this round will be telling if they can maybe try and get a couple of picks here and bring this round back. Keep in mind the wall, the garage wall that is, still hasn't been opened, which could pose some issues. It is being torched there by Digital as Nasty. He's going for a flank. He gets one onto God Legion, so the frag is shut down. Luckily, he doesn't peek that, or he would have been taken out himself. 20 seconds left now. Tries to get aggressive on that ping. Might be able to wide sweep this. If he gets the kill, it could be massive. He connects. That's Red taken down with the headshot. The SMG coming up massive there for LFO. And now there's only 10 seconds left for Elevate. This is very dangerous for them. A player has been downed as well. The intel there for the defenders. Mims gets aggressive, manages to get one with the Electro Claw, and somehow, out of nowhere, LFO will take the round. Well played, particularly by Nasty there at the end, giving his team a fighting chance, and secured nicely there by the remaining defenders.
Yeah, I think he was caught a bit fortunate with God Legion being on such low HP in that engagement. He did hit body shots, but SMG-11, close range, great gun, got some big picks, and LFO secured that first round. I think time also really going against Elevate. As you said, with about 40 seconds to go, that the garage wall was still closed. So we had LFO players all playing throughout garage. Solid map control, and it meant that it just came to this explosion that didn't work out.
Another interesting 6-pick dynamic there. Sogs jumping off Warden, as Red also 6-picking there onto IQ. So LFO
attackers need to locate and defuse
prepared
bombs if they can.
for that Ying on this occasion. 6-picking off it, and probably wise, as the attackers didn't actually end up bringing her. I think that's probably an underrated or an under-discussed, underdeveloped sort of aspect of competitive in the current sense is Ying can offer a lot more opportunities outside of the fact that she can util clear. There's a whole dynamic of banning her and then that freeing up maybe Thatcher being brought, or the 6-pick dynamic that we're already starting to see here. So I think it's a little bit more complex, and I think we'll see that more and more as these rounds play out, and that Ying might eventually get played.
And on Elevate, they had a great entry, but that was really where it ended, and they can tidy that up a bit. Maybe that time management really is the key factor there. If they had more time, they could have done something else. But I also question maybe they should have had Garage Wall open earlier. Even if they weren't going to utilize it at the start, I mean, it puts pressure on the defense because they don't feel as comfortable to rotate through the site there. Might have been the big oversight for Elevate on that round, but they've got a chance at redemption. That was only the first. Many more rounds ahead of them.
LFO, of course, now with 100% win rate in Arctic Masters 2020. So congrats on them for that, as Mims shuts down Gold Legion. That's a little bit dangerous for Elevate. Of course, Gold Legion got the first 2 frags in the previous round, and really was looking like he'd win the round rather for Elevate. Of course, didn't quite work out, as my sentence didn't quite work out there. Digital as well, they're on the Maverick trying to create some additional angles. Very interested to see how Elevate try and approach this hold.
Yeah, they're starting to put a lot of pressure towards meeting now. That player behind table is going to be heavily exposed now that's opened by Worthy, and he's actually going to get out of there from the hatch, giving himself a rotate. Of course, he doesn't have the super shorty now, so he can't open that bathroom hatch himself. Not really being pushed, not much of an issue for him to keep rotating. And Elevate have given themselves here half the round to finish this push into meeting and get a plant down. So time management looking pretty good so far.
Minute 20 to go. Position still being held here by Elevate. Drones being sent out to try and gather some intel here. Red may be preparing to wide peek that. Fast meanwhile, he's going to enter below. There is a player there inside of bathroom. He doesn't seem aware. Mim's actually inside of antechamber. Fast, a little bit lucky not to take too much damage there, but it could be in an engagement quite soon. If he loses this, there's going to be no verticality from below. The stall there from Mims has been quite effective as he makes his way safely all the way towards Zulu. Meanwhile though, Elevate, they're already inside. LFO need to try and deny this plant. The push has been quite strong. The player from below unable to deny it, despite Mims getting his double. And now it's all up for the retake. Digital and Worthy need to try and hold that diffuser. One inside of Con, one inside the balcony, and one at the top off service stairs. Connects his shots, but not enough for the down. Will eventually be taken out though. That's Hills, as Mims now needs to hit 4 kills in this round. It's a 1-on-1. Who can win the gunfight? The C4 comes out. Digital takes a little bit of damage from it. Both players quite low. Who has the nerve? Mims goes for the res. Probably not the play there in the end. And now it's Hills left to try and get the kill, but the time has already gone down too far, and Elevate will take the round.
was a big round from Digital there, and almost a successful retake from LFO, but that plant really slept through the cracks there because Mozzie was below to deny for so long in a position to do so, and it just didn't come out. So that plant going down was a big deal for Elevate to get that round. Makes it 1-1, and of course, importantly, stunts momentum on a team that's going to be relying so much momentum, and that's LFO. Because of the pressure on them, if they can maintain momentum, then of course that keeps the ball in their court for a lot longer. But the fact that Elevate have been able to stunt that already means pressure starts to creep back.
LFO will now reattempt the top floor, console and meeting. Need to try and find a way to deny that plant a little bit more effectively. As you mentioned, they did have that Mozzie below, but either didn't have the intel or was distracted by maybe another attacker downstairs, unable to deny it and narrowly losing that post plant. I think the encouraging sign for LFO so far is that none of these rounds have been like massive blowouts towards Elevate at all, so they're definitely holding their own thus far. And keep in mind, this is Elevate's pick.
Yeah, that's very true. Elevate are also making some pretty bad mistakes. One big one that I didn't get to talk about, but I just remembered, is that the default outside lobby was up until halfway through the round. So LFO would have been getting intel off that to take out Gold Legion at the start. They would have had full intel on the player on the balcony. They had the intel when Vast went below the lobby door. That was a massive oversight. That really could have been the end of 3 players just by not shooting that default.
Hopefully Elevate have taken out the defaults on this occasion. They try and find some intel inside of admin office. Gold Legion potentially setting up for another entry. He was the first death on the board for Elevate in the previous round, unable to replicate his first round heroics. Looks like he'll have a little bit of a clearer path on this occasion. He should be able to make his way all the way up, even towards the drinks machine. So this could be a little bit dangerous for LFO, who have given them quite a bit of ground.
Yeah, that's actually heaps of map control that have now forfeited. No contest in admin at all. Even in Visa, you know, even if you play a player below to shoot some drones in Visa and just bait out that kind of clear, at least that burns more time, but it hasn't happened at all. But like you said, Elevate have solid map control really early here, and they can go to work on pushing out these meeting players, set them up before they execute.
Looking so far like a pretty similar early round setup from Elevate. Digital carrying the stairs, and Gold Legion now getting aggressive towards the long desk, trying to expend any of their DDS devices. It does sound like he got rid of that shield. I believe he did, and that's going to make that long hallway even harder to hold for LFO. Do we have another shield here next to the Wamai, but it could be challenging to hold any angle from there, as Mims has been downed, and that's any sort of denial from below cancelled out. Not a great start here for LFO.
And Mims has been a big impact player for LFO in the last 2 rounds, and the fact that he won't have a chance to have an impact on this one is going to be big for LFO. Somebody else is going to have to step up. Final minute now, Guz. Elevate looking to clear below as they've pushed the player out of meeting, which means that this execute is coming closer and closer with still quite a bit of time on the board.
LFO really cramped up on that console side of the map. As fast to try and disrupt that now, using the newly added flash grenades on Buck. Worthy now preparing to jump in and execute the plan. Just waiting for the right time, waiting for that call. Anglo gets aggressive in con. Vast surely shuts that down. He does. Sogs does get one back though onto Gold Legion. Again, not having an impact in this round. Hills gets aggressive in con. His rotate not shut down there. He gets the kill and is traded out eventually, leaving it now in a 2-on-1. Sogs on the Wabai needs to try to deny this plant. There's only 10 seconds left. Shots rain out. Are Elevate aware of his position? Plant going down now inside of console. He knows there's a player to his right, but he can't hit the shot. And Elevate will win round number 3.
Again, another close round. LFO are holding their own so far. A great flank came out from Sogs that really brought them back in the round, because it looked like Elevate just had all the control in the world. It wasn't as safe as they felt. A good rotate from them though into CEO for that final plant meant that Sogs had to push deep through long. and it was cut out. So although Elevator up 2-1, it has been pretty close.
We are now going to head back down to Garage. Of course, we saw an appearance of this objective in the very first round. LFO crawling that one back after God Legion went off in the first initial phases of that round. I don't think LFO can rely on those late round heroics every round though. I'm sure Elevate have learnt their lesson from that first round and
Protect your bombs from being defused by
hopefully
attackers.
tidy up that execute come their second attempt.
And really is just going to put the onus on good flank drones, because there is no Nomad. That was a big important ban that we spoke about, LFO banning it out. Enables them to be able to more safely execute those kinds of flanks. They don't have to worry about those air jabs. So all it comes down to is Elevate being organized with their flank drones, or even their Claymore usage, but that's never a sure thing. It's definitely counterable still, and if Elevate do get on top of that, you're right, LFO are going to struggle a lot.
10 seconds remaining.
Interesting use of the Electro Claw there. I believe that
5 seconds to go.
Mims is trying to use that to electrify that barbed wire.
Attackers must
We'll use the
locate
second
and
one
defuse the bomb.
on the triple wall. I don't think I've ever seen that first Electro Claw before, to be honest. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort to go to just to electrify some barbed wire, but maybe it's going to be pretty important. You might not be able to dump your drone past that. We'd have to test it, but it's effectively like a mute jammer if that's the case, because you can't get a drone past the yellow stairs. I like the strat. See how we go. They do have the Maverick for main wall though, so that electrical on there isn't going to cause massive dramas.
Drone's being used here by Elevate to try and gain some early round intel. Digital once again on Maverick, already getting to work on the wall. Looks like they will try and Maverick trick the right side, so Digital will flame out the tops and the bottom of that reinforcement, which will leave it soft for someone like Worthy to come through and destroy it, or Ash in the hands of God Legion. It looks like Digital though is rotating off that, so maybe Elevate pivoting towards an eastern take.
Seems like they're very conscious of that Kaid trying to throw a C4 through that gap. So maybe not wanting to worry about that and just continue to push it elsewhere. Which, again, I don't think is really the player. It puts so much pressure on the defense having that wall open. I think the earlier they get it open, the better. On top of that, the Kaid has to fit it through. It's a pretty small gap, and that's an electrified wall. So if there's any error, then his C4 is just gone. So maybe even just a player watching it would be what they should do.
Fast now inside of console. Going to create some angles to watch potentially bathroom or even all the way down below in garage. It does appear as if there is a player inside of bathroom. Can't quite tell who. Could cause some issues for Elevate later in this round. Digital continues to torch the wall. It is in fact nasty there inside of the bathroom. Fantastic angle to hold that shotgun at close range. We've seen so many players go off in this very position. And he could well do the same here. Digital, though, gets shut down. He failed in getting that little piece of the wall, and it costs him his life. He is refragged eventually as Worthy makes his way down yellow. No one watching that in the meantime. They now have 40 seconds to try and go for this execute.
Does mean it's going to have to be a funnel there if they're going to push down the yellow stairs. Someone might have to push below from the rear, but either way, it's going to be tough. Red gets another, though, so it's man advantage for Elevate. Final 30 seconds. It's a back and forth. Guys making it 2 versus 2, but only 20 seconds to try and get a plant down.
Nasty finally coming up big there with the SMG, leaving it up to Worthy in a 1-on-2, forced to try and get some frags. Can't find the first. And LFO will once again successfully defend the basement. It's definitely proving to be a strong slot for them so far this evening.
Yeah, well, the 2 rounds they've won have been Garage, so it's been going well. Elevate not able to deal with that, and a lot of it, I think, comes down to that Garage wall. Got opened really late on that first round, and the round just then, Digital seemed super hesitant to do anything about it, and he didn't quite get it open because he was fragged out by the Kaid. Maybe more cover required for Digital. Either way, it's not working out for them, and it means that LFO are going to choose a different bomb site, and they're not going upstairs. They're actually going to go to lobby.
Definitely an interesting choice. Maybe identifying that the top floor is not really going to be working out for them in the way they would have liked. Lobby and press, of
Defenders,
course,
protect your bombs from being defused
still a
by
very
attackers.
viable site.
Bomb
May well
located
favor
by
their
attackers.
traditionally quite aggressive playstyle. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to set it up and how much utility they use above.
Yeah, you would expect a bit of a vertical roam. It's really important to try and maintain some meeting control, for example, because once your attacker opponents get control of meeting, it's a lot easier to control lobby, and then that's the majority of your execute ready to go. And as we said, we are seeing a lot of utility put up here. There's shield, evil eye, reinforcements. Looks like it's all going to be happening up here, and it's going to be up to Elevate whether they really push into that, or maybe they try and orchestrate a more piano push, which they clear out CEO.
Of course, this is the first time again we are seeing this site played between these two. So let's raise a couple of question marks on how either team will approach it. So far, Elevate bringing too many crazy things to the table. Been relatively straightforward in how you would expect a Consulate attack to be executed. Coming up to their players like God Legion though, too shine. He's only got 2 kills credited to his name after 4 rounds, and both of those came in the very first round, in fact. He's been a little bit quiet since then. Hopefully he can pop off here and help his team get a nice start to round number 5.
Another pretty steady entry so far from Elevate. No massive contests. They're just taking their time to get their positions. And something that worked out really well for them in the first round was God Legion on a successful entry. And that's probably more credit to LFO not giving those early picks to players like God Legion. In fact, they are the only 2 kills for God Legion were his first round entries.
Trying to hunt for maybe a defender below as he is droned ahead. Call comes out that it is clear, and pre-fires do rain out. Elevate just struggling really to find this opening pick. They will have to play for a wildcard-esque late round plan. They can't find it soon.
They've got the meeting controller, and I'm kind of surprised that LFO have pretty openly just given it to them. Either way, the hatch is closed, and it's got an electroclaw on it. It can be shut down from lobby. That might be a bit risky, but you can shoot that from below for sure if you wanted to open it. It's Digital, in fact, that would be the one to open it. He doesn't need to shut off, but it looks like it might actually be a bit of a rush push here. That frag grenade almost taking out a teammate. It's taking God Legion low and out, and now it's looking very much like an LFO round here, guys. Elevate just falling apart.
That execute style not really working out for them so far, as Nasty does get one, and the rest are finished off. A flawless round here for LFO. Really starting to make a statement here in Six Masters 2020. Of course, they are the bottom-seeded team, the only team to make it through the open qualifier. Definitely the underdogs in this tournament, but I mean, they've got the lead. Yes, it's on defense, but I don't think that can really be discredited when you're versing the top-seeded team.
Oh, every round is going to count. I mean, we haven't necessarily written off LFO, but we talked about how if they manage to get a chunk of rounds against Elevate, that's a bit of a win. And right now they really are staying in touch, and they're in front at 3-2. If they manage to get this first half 4-2, then that's absolutely exceeding expectations. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can continue it on attack or whether they will struggle. But either way, Elevate just haven't been able to get on top of LFO, and that last round was flawless.
Definitely great for the momentum. But now they are forced to go above, electing not to go to the split bomb site. LFO have attempted this twice so far in the half, and in this final round of the half here, they'll be looking to extend their lead. 0% win rate here so far, so not the greatest fall, but maybe they'll be able to switch it up a little bit and try and counter what has been a pretty default take from Elevate so far. They haven't brought anything out the bag too crazy. They've just been establishing that long desk control, covering the vault here, and like a hard post plant for LFO.
A lot more admin presence this time as well, is where Elevate were hard taking last time, but they look like they've read into that. Looks not so much like an admin push. Maybe more CEO yellow stairs style take. That might work out better for Elevate, considering the setup changes from LFO.
Sug's already firing out shots from below, of course playing on pulse, trying to get that drone. Narrowly misses though, so that'll be intel that
Bomb
Elevate
located
have
by
on
attack.
potentially. More drones coming out as Elevate continue to try and locate where all of these defenders are. Admin control has not really been given as easily this time to Elevate. As we mentioned earlier, a strong presence, but it doesn't really matter because Elevate have all rotated around to this yellow stairs side of the map.
Yeah, it's very much going to be the CEO take here from Elevate. Looks like they're read into that adjustment from LFO, and they're not going to push into it. Taking their time and utility to clear out yellow stairs being the big linchpin position for taking CEO. If you do get yellow stairs and private bathroom control, then that's a massive part of the battle to being able to execute in CEO.
Targets detected. Second floor.
Gold Legion still on 2 kills. Gonna find a couple more this round potentially. Run out though comes out from Nasty. Just narrowly misses his shot. Actually manages to get away. Unfortunate timing there for Elevate. He will eventually be taken down. That's Gold Legion. There we go. He manages to get himself back on the board. And now LFO have the man disadvantage once again on this side.
Yeah, really, maybe not worth that jump out, but we did say if that's one thing that LFO could do to destabilize Elevate, would have netted him a pick. Red is the one that he got, or that he shot at, so he's been taken out now by Hills. Bass is below in Piano and potentially getting flanked on here from the pulse. He's getting shot at though, unbeknownst, and oh my god, he just peeks the corner into the two Elevate players. He's just gonna jump out the window, deciding that's not the play, and that's not the play either. Elevate counter it. It's a 4 versus 2 now, guys, and that was a bit of a mess.
Aggro using some bullet holes here in Connector. Trying to find a pick onto the console windows. Doesn't quite see the player repelled there as Mims is covering the yellow stairs. Angmo gets exposed there from the window. Gets shot in the back by God Legion. And now Mims is left in a 4-on-1. If Elevate win this round, they will draw the half. They do. It's going to be 3-3 heading in to Elevate's defense. I definitely would have to say that Elevate winning that round brings it back in their favor, especially considering they're going to be going back to the defense, or going to the defense.
Yeah, I think this is the real telltale sign now for how LFO are going. I mean, their defense half was pretty good. A lot of people probably wrote them off and expected them to get smacked, but I think that's fair to say that's not happening here. But attack is a whole other beast. It requires a lot more coordination, a lot more adaptation. You have to worry about the clock. There's a lot more to it. So Elevate could be coming into some comfort on defense here, and maybe we'll see it steamroll away towards Elevate's favor. Who knows?
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by
Loading
attack.
now to the second half. Elevate, pretty consistent scores across the board in terms of the kill count. Mims on the side of LFO. It's a very strong half, going 9-4. Great start for him. Angmo, unfortunately, on 1-4. He has been playing more of a support though when he was on the defense, particularly on the Maestros, so wouldn't be looking too much into that so far. I think it's been a pretty balanced performance from both teams so far. No one's really been carrying too hard, so it's been an interesting encounter.
Yeah, and God Legion, I mean, he's on 5 kills, which is equal top for Elevate, but he only netted kills in 2 rounds. There was a 2k in the first round, and then a 3k in that previous round. He went missing for a lot of their attacks. I think that was really instrumental to Elevate struggling with a player like God Legion not being able to find those frags. So maybe good for his confidence, at least, to be able to secure a triple kill in that previous round.
Attackers recovered the bomb.
We will see how LFO deal with these attacks. Looks like they're going to be taking admin first here, Guz. Got 2 players repelled on this side and lots of drones coming over here trying to obtain this control.
Drones will be sent out to try and gain control of admin. Fog's playing his role off the window, so far looking pretty similar to the way in which Elevate attempted to take the site. It's going to be a battle of who can read into the play better, and try to counter it. Control taken by Hills inside of Printer.
Attackers have located a
No
bomb.
one from Elevate in a position to contest that at the moment, so they have to be careful that they don't get control too early. And Vast, he does that. Good night, Hills. See you later. It's now a 5-on-4.
And Sogs is in a very dangerous position here. If God Legion decides to throw the C4, that's good night. Oh, it's good night anyway. Sogs loses the face. Oof, that's a rough one.
Not a great start here for LFO in their attacking half. I think we expected it to be a little bit rough, but maybe not quite this rough. And oh my goodness, Mim's getting ball banged. That's unfortunate. Bath gets his double, and I think this round is basically all but over. Angmo and Mims both need to get massive here in order to bring this one back, and Elevate, with all their experience, will surely just sit back and trap them. Keep in mind that the bomb site's actually below. There's been so many fights above that even I, to be honest, completely forgot about the fact that the site was not even there. So I don't know if Elevate were intentionally baiting it or just wasting time. Either way, it has paid off. Mims with a great shot, gets one, but gets downed as well. The call will likely go out that they are both here as the res goes down. And it's pretty much looking over here. They're trapped here at the bottom of Spiral. Angway does make his way out. Head over towards the cafeteria door. That shield posing some issues though. And of course, Mims can't clear that. And then more grenades on Buck. Oh, the flank there is coming out there. It will be shut down by Agmo, but the refrag from Elevate is there. And well played by them in the end. I'm not sure. I don't think Elevate were intentionally trying to bait necessarily LFO to push above. Instead, sort of having that presence to make them feel uneasy of pushing towards site. But either way, it worked. Not even as a time drainer, but as a man drainer. LFO just sending in bodies and not really getting much in return.
Yeah, and maybe just not the play of LFO hard pushing into that. Potentially could have been chances to avoid it, at least initially, because, I mean, one way to clear a roam isn't always to hard push it, it's to push elsewhere, to force that roam to reposition because they think, well, we're not being pushed, let's go rotate to be effective. And that in itself actually clears the roam, and then that's when you can try and take those gunfights. So maybe that's a style that LFO could adopt. We'll see, but that was dominantly Elevate through and through. I think that was a lot of experience showing, and on the other hand, maybe some inexperience from LFO, really struggling to adapt to what Elevate were doing on that attack. I'm sorry.
It's okay, I forgive you, Raven.
Thanks, bro. You're the best.
I'll give you a pat on the back, but obviously that is not possible because we are casting from home, which is a little bit strange, but you know, still pretty cool that we get to sit here and talk about video games in our bedroom. Kind of cool.
Yeah, and we didn't even have to wear pants. I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
Whoa. Okay. Speak for yourself.
Seconds left before insertion.
Well, Elevate, you could argue, have been caught a little bit with their pants down. Just a little bit, not really. 4-3, not the worst scoreline. That would have been such a better joke if Elevate were like, I don't know, like
if
2-4
they were
down or
actually
something
getting
like that.
pants.
Yeah. Ah, well. Oh! That was close.
Man. Yeah, Hills almost lost his life to that. Nice angle from Worthy. That's a bit of an old one, you know, like peeking the admin windows from an elevated position.
Was that a joke on Elevate?
I was wondering whether you were going to say anything about that.
Did you mean it?
I didn't, but you know what? I thought it was pretty neat. So
I would claim it. I would
acknowledging
claim that. Yeah. Definitely intentional. Meanwhile, Hills is making himself known inside of Visa. Shut down quite quickly in the previous round. Hopefully he can have a little bit more of an impact here. Of course, Elevate are actually defending above here. The bombs are located there.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Oh! Vast just deleted Mims. That's the sledge taken off the board, and again, LFO just struggling to get that early
Attackers
pick.
have recovered their diffuser.
yeah, really struggling on entry and really struggling to just deal with the way Elevate are playing this and how things are set up. Fast is still deep in admin. God Legion has found another pick. LFO cannot catch anything right here besides bullets. God Legion almost finds another. Actually, he does find that they trade. What?
No way! I thought for sure there was no way he was ever hitting that. That was absolutely disgusting from God Legion. That leaves it now in a 2-on for Angmo and Nasty. So Angmo left to try and clutch up the last round, was unable to really get anything going, and it could well be a similar scenario here with his teammate Nasty. Make their way through Visa office now. Crouch walking to try and suppress any sound that they might be making. Maybe try and find a couple of picks by surprise, but it's going to be pretty hard when the default camera is still up. Angmo as well, blocked by that castle barricade, and I think that may well call for the end of the round here. LFO going to really struggle to get some of these picks. Nasty could come around with those X-Kairos and open up the barricade. It looks like that might be the play. But I'm tipping Elevate will probably hear this and be ready.
Yeah, they're going to be running into a lot of crossfires here, but also Elevate playing passive. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to get too much done from this double door. It's going to be difficult at best. And that shield as well going to make it a bit easier. The Almighty yeeting it over, getting a little aggressive, hunting this final player. Playing an aggressive spot there at long desk. Does get shot though, make it a 3 versus 1. 20 seconds.
15 seconds.
3 fires per second, but doesn't hit any shots as Angway will suffer the same fate of entering those crossfires. Elevate taking round number 8. It's not looking great for LFO here in the early stages of their attacking half.
No, it's definitely not, and it's something that I was speaking about a little bit when we finished the first half, is that I really felt that if LFO were going to struggle, then it would be exposed in their attack phase, and that's really what it feels like. They have not been able to gain any entries, and they're just being manhandled for a majority of the rounds. No trades coming out, nothing like that. So if Elevate continue to have their way, then we really could be seeing a swift 7-3.
Lobby and press will now be attempted by Elevate. Of course, the site rotation dictates that they have to go here or split after winning the last 2 rounds. In response, Sogs is going to 6-pick onto the Nook, so keep an eye out for that.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
I think maybe the
defused by
concerning
attackers.
thing here for LFO is it feels like Elevate haven't really brought anything crazy out so far. Everything's felt like relatively default comp setups. And LFO just really struggling to even attempt to clear some of these setups
Bomb
just because of the
located by
fact that they're
attackers.
losing so many men early, which is really hurting them.
Yeah, God Legion running amok as well. He's had 2 double kills now in the 2 defense rounds we've seen Elevate play. And like you said, I don't think Elevate have pulled out anything super special, so to speak. But the way they're executing it, their playstyle is just totally destroying the hopes of LFO. And
5 seconds
it's
remaining.
stalling them out. Because once God Legion got those first couple of picks, they're just
Attackers are heading
hanging
out
out
to
on
defuse the
windows
bomb.
or outside doorways, and they're not really getting into the building until even halfway through the round.
Interesting anti-spawn peek technique there from Sogs with the Deagle, looking potentially for a 1-tap, doesn't find it. Looks like they might be going for some sort of takeover towards the yellow. A little bit hard to say so far. Elevate did set up above, so they will need to be mindful of all the verticality above them as they enter site.
Bomb
So keep in
located by
mind, a
attackers.
lot of that floor above is destructible.
Blast is the one holed up in the bathroom here. What a nice rotate hole out. Red on the yellow stairs also as the Wamai trying to hold that strong position. In fact, they've got 3 up above. Really, really strong presence, which I can only imagine LFO is really going to struggle with. And maybe they'll decide not to go for it. They're actually entering below, which is good because it's going to give them some map control, which is a lot more to say than the previous 2 attacks we've seen.
Red now trying to get a little bit aggressive on yellow stairs. Agmo is below, but Red probably won't have the intel to go for that. He does, however, hear a player quite close. That's Mims on the barbed wire. Meanwhile, though, we actually get Sogs who wide peeks him, so that makes it a 4-on-4 as Ango does actually manage to find one. That's God Legion shut down, so an informed player on Elevate taken out. He'll have no further impact in this round. Red as well, able to get rezzed up or stimmed up, but it doesn't matter. Hills is ready and waiting for that cross. He'll take him out. And now LFO have the man advantage.
Definitely a much better round from them so far. Time will start to become a factor though as we come down to this final minute. There's one on the lower spiral. Digital goes to engage and actually hunts it, just going straight down towards the Capitao. Trading some shots. Capitao actually running away from that engagement, not wanting to contest. He's 1 HP. Digital finds Mims It might be falling apart here for LFO.
Vast is still at the front door. Is his position known to LFO? That is the question. Heals does shut down Worthy, playing above and covering him. Vast now will get aggressive. It pays off, and Hills is dropped. Angmo now left to clutch out yet another round for LFO. Somehow finds the first. Potentially winnable here, but Vast is on full HP. Angmo one shot. Vast could surely just sit with the SMG. Or the gas will kill him. There we go. He's shut down. Elevate will take the round. And it's looking pretty grim at the moment for LFO.
Yeah, I mean, he had a chance to shoot a couple of bullets before the smoke ticked away, but yeah, he was in a position. Sneeze on him, he's dead. And it's kind of what happened. He got gassed out in the end. So match point now, Elevate.
A little bit of a weird sneeze. Little bit of a weird sneeze.
So 6-3 to Elevate, and we're seeing the full reverse sweep in effect here, guys, if this round is won.
Yes. Of course, keep in mind, if LFO want any chance of coming back into this, they will need to win 3 rounds straight, and then we do head into overtime. But I think it's safe to say that's looking like it might not be the case. And Raven, we will finally see Ying. I cannot believe it took us this long to see Ying tonight, but there we go.
Yeah.
She will finally be picked.
Yeah, it is surprising that it really took this long, but it is what it is. We'll see whether it actually gets used to much effect or not. Vast having a big round in that previous one. He's actually up onto double digits now for his team. He was actually a player that really had a solid season 11 in Pro League. Constantly playing more of a flex support role, but last season he really was able to step up and get a lot more frags for his team and net some really positive ratings, and it seems like that's going to be continuing for Six Masters.
I guess as well, going back to that Ying pick, the concerning thing potentially for Elevate in this round is they only have the Jaeger. They don't have Wamai on the board. They also don't have Warden.
5 seconds to go.
So just based on that, Ying is a strong pick here potentially, but again, we've seen so many occasions where Agmo, for example, has been left in such dire situations without able to really use his utility. So Ying is one of those operators where you want as many of your teammates up as possible to really capitalize on those Candelas.
Being again an extended roam here from Elevate, playing bathroom, and there's even a player up there. It looks like meeting from the outline. Okay, LFO again, we saw them stall out hugely trying to push admin. Worthy is there at the moment. It's God Legion there and meeting. This time they're actually going to push a different direction. They're going to push the CEO side. And Elevate have read into that. They've changed a little bit of their setup. God Legion just switching doorways for that pest. That means that they can better contest that. And here is the big issue, guys. This was a massive pain for Elevate to deal with, is the garage wall.
LFO, though, not having too many issues in getting it open. And this is a nice passageway for Angmo to come through and pop some Candelas as fast drop Sogs. So again, LFO losing that early man. That player having pretty much no impact on how this round will play out. I think LFO just really need to work on their entries and being a little bit safer. It's really costing them in some of these rounds.
Definitely lacking a lot of structure on entry that is not getting them any kind of entry pick. Often being 1v1.
Oh.
Mims does get one onto Vast, and these Candelas are coming out, so this might be the long yeet. Mims is getting the plant, guys, so this might be a big round changer here for LFO.
Does Red see him though from above? I don't think he has. The plant has been stuck. God Legion does get one onto Hills. Mims stuck inside of Garage. Could find a couple through the smoke, but himself will be touched by that toxic canister. Either way though, they've all made their way outside now, and now it's up for Elevate to try and retake site. This is one of the most difficult objectives to do so, as Angmo is just spraying them down with that LMG. Mims as well could get another. Angmo though will finish that one off. It's a triple for him, and Digital is now left in a 1-on-2. Can't quite get it done, and LFO will take the round off the back of that Ying play.
You're so right in that this is one of the hardest retakes to do. Once there's a plant gone down near White Van and those attackers are able to get outside, it's really, really tough. So getting that plant down was a massive, massive win for LFO, getting them in that round, and it means they hang on just for that bit longer. Elevate not going to bother reattempting that. They're just going to go straight back to Consulate meeting room, which is where they've had a lot of success already.
Well, there you go, folks. 100% win rate on Ying in 6 Masters 2020. Nerf her now. Hashtag nerf Ying. Let's go trending.
Ironically,
I do feel like...
don't think
Sorry, go.
I don't think it was actually the flashes that was the big thing there. It was actually the sound. Like, it really was just sound allowing them to get in and get the plant down. And while those Candelas were going off, I just think Elevate were like, oh, well, let's not peek it because it's mid-round. So I just think that was really well executed in terms of timing it with the sound.
And I guess the thing is, Elevate still had that control above the objective. Those players weren't getting affected by the Candelas. Red, for example, was there and just maybe didn't quite have the intel to deny it. I think he had a hole there, but didn't quite see the planter. So Elevate just not quite having enough intel in that previous round. And the disruption from LFO did prove effective. We are a match point still though. Elevate with that advantage. They'll be wanting to close this one out pretty quickly. I think they don't want to let LFO creep back in.
Definitely not. And also, I think letting it get too close is probably just something they won't like in general. You know, like against the 8th seed team, you want to come in and you're going to want to smack them, you know? Like, you want to show them who's boss. But so far, LFO have stuck with them. They've looked pretty rough on attack, though. That last one really just coming down to a bit of a pocket strat, you know? Like, that was a pretty offhand execute. Throwing Candelas deep, smokes, track stingers, and just getting a plant down mid-round is not something you can do all the time. Whether they can back it up with more round wins on attack is yet to be seen.
I mean, talking about pocket strats, Hills on the Finker and Sogs on the Amaru, alongside Nasty again on bringing a Ying to the board. This could be quite interesting. Sogs potentially could actually go up to
A bomb has been located.
this hatch potentially. It's very risky, but if there's a lot of sound generated by these attackers, Elevate might not hear it.
Another unsuccessful entry from LFO. Elevate getting all the entry kills on defense so far. And some intel there. Hills actually getting fast in CEO. And the piano position flushed down. That's actually diffuser down in piano now.
4 on 3. Not a great place to lose it. Now going to be up to Nasty and Mims to try and enter in towards Yellow Stairs. God Legion is probing below, so they'll need to be mindful of that flank. Doesn't appear as if they are, though. God Legion is very low, so he'll probably play it quite passively. Track Stinger's going out. God Legion, again, we'll have to be mindful of those. Step in some of those and he'll probably be taken out.
Located by attackers.
LFO now with just over a minute to set up an attack.
God Legion always going to be posing a threat here while he lurks downstairs. Trigger Discipline, a plus there. 2 players now going to be repelled on CEO windows, potentially even 3. So if God Legion does get a chance to poke his head out this yellow door, could get a few picks.
4 versus 2 now. Entry coming in through the window, but it gets denied. Nasty now left in a 1 on 4. He does have 2 Candelas left. Might be enough to flash 4 players, I'm not too sure, but the run out comes out before he can even think about doing that. God Legion will get that final pick. And Elevate will take an expected result here against LFO. A solid performance in the end. LFO just not quite having enough class there. And they will be winning this one. Elevate 7-4.
Yeah, they really struggled on attack. And like I said, the only round they won was with that somewhat pocket strat. Using the aggressive Candelas and track stingers to mask sound, get an unexpected quick plant down. They tried it again there, essentially. It was almost a minute to go when they started throwing in those Candelas. And Elevate were ready for it this time because they knew what was going to happen. They perfectly countered it, and there was nothing that LFO could do. So outside of that previous attack round, Elevate just absolutely ran free on defense.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so hard to critique LFO in these scenarios because, again, they're the only team that came through the open quals. They're versing teams in basically a whole nother tier above them. It's going to take them a while to get a feel for how these teams play and having that right mindset to try and counter teams like Elevate, who are renowned for adjusting on the fly when necessary. I mean, for example, we saw on multiple occasions Elevate switching up their point of attack or executing heavy roams on their defense, which was throwing LFO off, and I think that showed.
Yeah, it really did. And as I was saying, attack is what's going to expose a team at the level of LFO in terms of against good teams. Defense, there's a lot less pressure. There's a lot more that can go your way without you doing a whole lot. Whereas on attack, you are the one that has to be really proactive. So they really struggle with that. And I'm curious how they're going to bounce back with their map pick.
Well, Elevate have taken the first map in this best of 2 series. Go grab yourself a drink. We'll be back very shortly for the second map.
Drop the diffuser.
Oh, man, I'm getting so tired.
Yeah, it's getting like that, isn't it?
Are you like Caden, who loves to make the most of the slow loading times of his HDD?
Sitting on a bench, waiting for the time to pass, dreaming of what happens next. I see what I wanna be, questioning my destiny, only knowing what I see. I don't even realize I've already made a path, and I can change it anytime. I can't take it back. I know what I want, but it seems so damn far away. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said I know I empower those who dream like me. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said I know I empower those who dream like me. And you say you wanna be somebody. You got a voice, then you better use it. Tell yourself day after day it's time to prove it. No days off, keep the hustle moving. Wanna see you be what you wanted to be, prove it. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said I know I empower those who dream like me. I know I sound crazy to the ones who said I know I empower those who dream like me. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody. And you say you wanna be somebody.
G'day there, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. I'm Guz Raven alongside once again, and we're coming straight out of the Elevate versus LFO map number 1. Elevate taking that matchup pretty confidently on Consulate. Raven, what can we expect heading into Clubhouse?
Good question. I mean, LFO, it's their pick, and they had some really good defenses on Consulate. So Clubhouse being a little bit more of a defender map, maybe they've got some nifty stuff there that could derail Elevate. I'm going to put a spotlight on LFO's attacks though, because that's what they really struggled with on Consulate. And Clubhouse isn't necessarily an easy map to attack.
I think that's really been a trend so far tonight. We've seen some teams really have some time management issues in particular, I feel, on attack. We saw earlier tonight, both Sinister and Wildcard having some issues with their time management. And again, tonight, it wasn't as much time management for LFO. In fact, it was more so the fact that they were losing men early, which then impacted their time management. I think that's definitely something both teams will have to consider heading into Clubhouse, which can be pretty tricky to attack.
For sure, they're going to have to tighten up their entry a lot, and time management in general is going to have to be so much better if they want a chance to be able to take map 2 against Elevate. And of course, if not, that means that Elevate will take the series 2-0 and a 6 points, and they'll be joining Wildcard up there, who also got the 2-0 earlier in the night. So LFO have to dig deep here. Is a big task ahead of them.
And I guess really the question is, do LFO have what it takes to draw out this series? Because from what we saw on Consulate, probably safe to say that Elevate weren't bringing out a whole lot of innovation there. Everything felt pretty stable to what we've seen in the past on that map in the last couple of months. So unless LFO somehow have something up their sleeve, it's probably going to follow a similar trend, I feel.
Yeah, Clubhouse has been a map that Elevate have done well previously, so there's every chance that Elevate can just pull out all the stops, but there has to be a reason also that this is LFO's map pick, right? So they must back themselves in some capacity against a team like Elevate here. Whatever they've got up their sleeve, they're going to have to really bring it because, yeah, it's a real uphill battle.
Well, of course, you guys at home can vote on who you think will win all of these series throughout Six Masters 2020. Let's recap what you guys thought heading into this matchup earlier tonight. Elevate was the favorite, and so far, it's looking good for the 71% of you that voted for them.
Yeah, and so far, community poll been on point. Wildcard managed to secure that 2-0, and maybe it's going to be the same here for Elevate. Community poll said draw is unlikely, and I'm pretty much in that camp as well. I'd be quite surprised, to be honest, if Elevate don't manage to secure the 2-0 in the series, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, and a dark horse like LFO is the X factor that usually starts those strange things happening.
All right, well, let's start talking a little bit about Clubhouse. We mentioned that it's quite a challenging map to attack. We saw earlier tonight in the Wildcard Sinister matchup, it was the Thatcher and Ying. Was it Ying? It was Ying, wasn't it? Yeah, combo, which only really exemplifies how difficult it can be. Are we expecting maybe similar bans tonight against these two? Or maybe they'll try and make it a little bit easier for themselves in that regard?
Yeah, maybe after the way that LFO tried to implement the Ying in their attacks, Elevate might consider banning it now because, I mean, that really enabled the only attack round that LFO won. So I think it's highly likely they're going to be similar bans.
Well, let's find out. It is Elevate taking on LFO here on Clubhouse, the second in this best of 2. Battle Eye's going crazy. LFO will be looking to go crazy in this second map. The first ban coming out, it will be Thatcher. I wonder if we're going to see Ying. We did see Ying utilized a little bit by LFO there on Consulate, so maybe Elevate will ban her out. A little bit scared, a little bit of PTSD from the last map. Oh, there we go. Yep. Bang on.
Yeah. I mean, if that was really the linchpin that was getting LFO attack wins, then for sure get rid of it. It's not even about the trouble of dealing with it. It's just that if that's what they were really leaning on and they no longer have it, well, they're going to really struggle. So I like that ban from Elevate, and not too surprising considering the effectiveness of Ying at the moment.
That's an interesting ban from Elevate, where Mai will be taken off the board. We saw Sinister and I believe Wildcard utilized her quite efficiently across both maps earlier tonight. It is a ban though that we don't often see in competitive, so a little bit interesting in that regard as Valkyrie will round things off.
Yeah, really interesting defense ban phase there, getting rid of Wamai and Valkyrie. Wamai's gadgets, I mean, the way you can use him is really effective in pairing with a Jaeger, and Ying has been great to help clear that kind of stuff. So maybe that is Elevate wanting to create more struggle for LFO on attack, just by the fact that it's going to be even harder for them to deal with utility.
Church and Arsenal will be selected first here by LFO. Of course, Mirror is still in play, but will be 6-picked by Sogs. Kind of interested to see some Mirror play. It's so rare that we see Mirror played these days that she's either banned on maps where she is effective, or the maps where she isn't as effective are rarely picked. So we'll have to wait and see if maybe we see her later tonight. I guess with all the attacking operators in play, that counter that Mirror playstyle, i.e. you have Zofia who can create verticality, Digital with the torch, and then you've got Worthy with those X-Kairos. Picking Mirror is pretty risky if you can't deal with that utility.
Yeah, and it's become a really interesting point now that Mirror for a while there was just banned so often. Teams just never used her or were never able to use her. They wouldn't design strats around her. And like you said, even when she's available, she's still not often picked, because I think teams have just become comfortable without her. So it's funny that at one stage she was considered so strong that she was banned all the time.
5 seconds remaining.
But now it's kind of like, it doesn't matter as much, she still doesn't really get picked.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
I wonder how much of that is down to the fact that teams likely these days probably don't even bother scrimming too much with her if she's rarely going to be allowed through or not really an integral part of the strats. So I don't know. Either way though, the result's the same. Not much mirror play. As Elevate now will try and progress in towards the map. Keep in mind, of course, they are attacking below, but often we do see defenders roaming above. On this occasion, it doesn't look like LFO are investing massively above though. So expect quick control gathered here by the attackers.
It looked like there was just a solo there, which is the Vigil, but where he's ended up at this stage. Looks like he's actually still in logistics, so Elevate gonna have to be careful about flanks, but they've got just the operator for that, and that's Nomad. So air jabs can go out, and that will make it even harder for these flankers to be able to return to side or even execute their flank. Red on the hunt as well, up in CCTV. He's got someone with him for this room clear. So they're really hard pushing this and trying to get this as a free pick, given the fact that it's a solo rumor.
The main objective of Slogs is really to waste as much time as possible. A pick or two on top of that would be great as well. We're starting to approach the halfway point of this round. He is still up. Elevate may be electing to just ignore him at the moment. Instead, cover his flanks. We hear some impacts potentially going out. That's Sogs. Was he lying down at the pool table? That was so hard to see. Trade comes out though. It's now a 4-on-4.
Hopefully Vars did get a chance to use all of his air jabs, but either way, effective trade, given that Vigil was maybe wasting a little bit of time. Elevate down to around a minute left to get this execute ready. Light work of the floor in kitchen now is Buck with his extra skeleton key ammo. Work on getting that hatch open, so maybe we're going to be looking at a dirt armory kind of execute here.
Final preparations being put in place now by Elevate. Oh, that's a good angle from Mims. Manages to shut down Red. Could well find a second. Lights up. Digital. Can't quite secure the kill yet though. Nast meanwhile manages to drop God Legion, and this round's definitely looking like it will tilt in favor of LFO. Elevate still stuck above. The flank coming out from Agmo, this could be very, very dangerous. I'm not sure they're aware. The flank comes out. Oh my god, somehow Worthy manages to win that gunfight. Don't know how that happened, but Digital was downed in the meantime, leaving it in a 2-on-3. And he is picked up. Drop has to come out now. No time for Elevate. And there we go. LFO can clean them up quite nicely. That's the first round going their way.
A good round from LFO in the end. Kind of surprised the Vigil was able to survive as long as he did. It really took a majority of the round for them to shut him down in billiards. And even then he traded. And while that seemed alright for Elevate at the time, maybe that stall was just too much because they focused so much on kitchen. LFO got picks around that. And they also still managed to flank. So a good defense and something for Elevate to think of next time that Church is played by LFO.
Time to head upstairs now. Gym and bedroom. An objective that took quite some time to be played earlier this evening between Wildcard and Team Sinister. So they're going to take 2 for it to make an appearance here. Again, these 6 picks being utilized quite often by LFO. Many of these rounds they're trying to switch things up, which is, I think, good to see. Maybe trying to throw Elevate off a little bit, which is typically a pretty good approach when you're trying to take on the top-seeded team.
Sure. Anything you can do to get rounds is always probably going to be a good approach against a team like Elevate. I like Gym Bedroom, to be honest, over CCTV Cash, personally. I think CCTV Cash has got this massive hole in it, basically, which is Kennel's wall. And if that gets opened, that's a massive part of the attacker's round done. Jacuzzi wall is kind of the same for Gym Bedroom, but it more cuts a rotate. It doesn't actually give you a direct entry to a bomb site. So, yeah, we really do see a bit of a split in who leans towards favoring Gym Bedroom and who leans towards CCTV Cash.
I wonder if Elevate are expecting LFO to go here. Probably anticipating Golden to have gone cash. But again, Bedroom's now pretty integral to the meta, so Elevate will definitely have experience in attacking that site. An aggressive roam here in the garage. This could prove massive if Elevate aren't aware. I don't think they are. The wide peak comes out, and there we go. Mims gets one, drops down oil pit, and he can scathe away with his life.
Not really sure what the play was there. I mean, if they were able to get a player into the garage doorway, why not just quickly shoot the pest if that's what it was, and then continue to roam from garage doorway? There's definitely a preventable death there on God Legion, so a bit rough from Elevate. Putting themselves at this man disadvantage pretty early now too. I've got garage control, which means they're going to be able to push up into CCTV, while Worthy has attempted to open the wall, but actually it doesn't look any...
Yeah,
oh
Worthy
gosh.
didn't open the wall. Oh, that is not good. This is not been a great round for Elevate. Worthy still might be able to prone in that breach, but anyway, it will expose him. Red meanwhile does drop Mims, trying to get his team back into this round. So unfortunate there for Worthy, and he gets taken down. Another trade. We have seen so many trades between these two tonight. It's been crazy. Does leave it in a 2-on-3 now. Half the round to go.
It's going to be up to Red and Vast. Still got quite a bit of time, but they're up against a lot of players. Now Red has been down, so it really is all up to Red. Up to Vast, sorry. You know, 1 versus 3 if he's not able to revive his teammate. Look, LFO looking pretty good on defense yet again. I mean, they looked good on Consulate, looking good so far on Clubhouse. Really be about Elevate just staying in touch until they can get on their defense, and that's where they can start to run over the top of them.
Elevate still with a decent amount of time in this round, but with Red being so low on HP, the trade shouldn't be too difficult for LFO. The diffuser is recovered inside of CCTV. That camera finally taken out, giving so much intel to both Hills and Nasty. I wonder if Elevate have any drones left. Red does have one that he could use to try and find intel, but there's not a lot of time left, and Hills will drop Vast. Living up to Red, he's already been picked up once. He's going to be so low on HP. A single bullet should take him down. They are fully aware of his position, both holding the crossfire. Just ready and awaiting. Does recover the diffuser once again. He's going to make his way in towards Con. Nasty, holding a very nasty angle inside of Con. Will surely win this gunfight. He does. And LFO will take 2 rounds straight.
Yeah, another great defense from LFO, but also, gotta say, a pretty sloppy attack from Elevate. Worthy not getting those Habana pellets lined up well on CCTV, but also the entry from God Legion, so unsafe. I'm not sure whether they thought it was clear and then the other defender rotated in, but it seemed like to me that pests were stopping them from droning it out, and they just decided to go anyway. So that really is on them for being a bit sloppy, and I'll have to tidy it up, otherwise LFO might really string together some good defense rounds.
LFO gunning for 3 straight. That leaves them with two options in this round. They go bar and stock or cash and CCTV, and
Attackers
being
need
the
to locate
sensible,
and defuse bombs.
competitive siege players that they are, they will head to cash. I really wish we saw more bar gameplay. I just don't think it's going to ever happen though. It's kind of sad. A man can hope though.
It has a very, 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 very low percentage pick rate, but hey, it's definitely happened a couple of times. Pretty sure it was there's a Latin American team that I've seen play it maybe once or twice.
Yeah, and they won it.
But it's yeah, it's very niche. Look, we're gonna see how LFO do with CCTV and cache now. Of course, the other popular bomb site for Clubhouse. And the adjustments that Elevate have made is probably going to be the most important part of that, because yeah, we've seen some sloppy play, and this is going to require a bit of coordination to attack, because they're going to need to get that kennels wall open, otherwise it's going to be a really tough round for them.
LFO, of course, bringing both the Kaid and the Bandit to help him deny that entry on Kennel's wall. We have to Elevate to try and clear that. Again, keep in mind that Thatcher has been banned. It's going to be an easy task. May have to go below and try and clear it, or gain garage control, both of which will be time consuming, and Elevate will need to try and be mindful of that. Digital, instead opting to go for the Maverick trick, a technique often used when that Thatcher is banned and Maverick is in play. Digital taking a little bit of damage for his efforts, and he might have missed a little bit of the wall. He does get away with it, he doesn't get shot. Very tedious task this, and he is getting lit up. He does get the wall just in time though. Skates away with 1 HP. Well done to Digital. They should now be able to mount this attack.
Yeah, Digital's really been struggling on the Maverick side. I mean, we saw him struggle on Consulate garage wall. In fact, dying there once as well in pretty much similar fashion. The entry into Gym, quite aggressive here from Elevate. Looked like there were some outlines in construction still, potentially.
Activating drone.
Elevate gonna have to be careful, because again, if they lose these entries, I think that really is putting them in a really bad position, not for the obvious reasons, but LFO are a team that seem to be running or getting ran over the top of by Elevate once Elevate get the first pick. If that continues, then maybe they'll start to get some defense rounds.
Just over a minute to go in this round. It goes by so quickly, and now Elevate need to try and assess the situation and work out how they want to approach this site. Red from below, that buffed skeleton key, helping to disperse some of those defenders on site. Does do a little bit of work. But there's still 10 members left, 50 seconds on the board.
And a lot of intel being gathered here, but not too much action. As I say that, a trade comes out. Still feel like Red could have maybe had a little bit more impact below. He got shot maybe through the floor. Like Digital picking bar. Digital is not going to be able to do too much with 1 HP. He's just going to have to try and get some picks. We enter the final 30 seconds. Speaking of picks, he actually gets a shot onto Nasty. That's going to be the smoke as well. It's a great anchor operator not to have to deal with. 3 versus 3, final 25 seconds, guys. It's about to go down.
Worthy with the diffuser on the side of Con, forcing the rest of his teammates to push in and try to clear them out. He was taken down though, leaving it up to God Legion, basically, who has full HP. He does get one, leaving it up to Mims inside of Garage. Gold's now inside of CCTV, trying to desperately deny this plant. God Legion does seem determined to stick it though, as he makes his way towards the connecting door. He knows that the player there sees his knee as he peeks around the corner, but is eventually shut down. And Elevate will take their first attack here on Clubhouse.
And a little bit messy. It didn't look too great, but they did get there in the end. Digital managed to survive on 1 HP. I don't know how. The many bullets that he dodged. A bit lucky to survive, but yeah, they have secured their round. 2-1. Feeling very similar to Consulate at the moment. You know, Elevate just staying in touch with LFO, ensuring they don't get too far ahead. And it feels like once Elevate get on defense, we might see similar fashion than we saw in Clubhouse.
Basement now to be attempted by the defenders. They played it in round number 1, LFO, and won it. This time it does look like they are going to stick the mirror. Hills will be playing her. Last time she was 6th picked. It'll be very interesting. Intrigued to see where they're going to place these mirrors and how aggressively they will play on them. because again, Elevate do have some of those tools to clear them.
ADS deployed and ready to go.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough attack onto Church last time. LFO did a great job, but no Vigil this time. And that was something that worked really well for LFO last time. And this could be a mistake that some teams do make. They try and constantly adapt and try and stay fresh so their opponents don't adapt. But sometimes you change what was really good. And that could be the thing here. If Aroma's attempted without the Vigil, maybe he's not as elusive as last time. Is he at a pinch? And that could play into Elevate's hands.
Looks like Mims now will head through dirt and use an Electro Claw on those exterior walls. Digital is already there with the Breaching Torch. Could net himself a kill. I'm not sure if he saw the player there. This could be very awkward. Both these players eager to get an early pick. Not sure how aggressive LFO will get on this. It looks like they have instead elected to fall back. Potentially a shield as well being placed. Either way though, that push has been stunted a little bit and both players will get away with their lives.
That rotate hole has now been opened, and quite a few players of Elevate actually stack up around there. Maybe they are going to try and deal with this dirt player nice and early. Then the option to push there later on. It was also a strong position that LFO played out of once Elevate were ready to get to site. While they were in tatters when that finally happened. Still pretty strong. A nice flank drone set up there, which was a position that Vigil played really strong last time, was near the strip hallway and up towards Billiards. So far, Elevate really are taking their time to get some kind of control.
Shots raining out still from God Legion. And the nade will fly out from the hands of Digital. Nasty still determined in holding dirt, or at least delaying as much time as possible despite being droned. He will use his second gas canister to delay even more time here. If Nasty does forfeit control, Elevate will have a very strong position for the remainder of this round. He's struggling to clear these drones, does finally get it, and will now whip out the shotgun. That's his last gas grenade used. Oh, the push is perfectly timed there from Vast. The refrag though is great from Mims, and just like that, Elevate actually at the man disadvantage despite having some decent control in dirt. But look at LFO, they are all ready and waiting for that exit.
Attackers have located a bomb.
They are, and there's one even on main stairs, potentially looking to flank aggressively. So again, Elevate gonna have to make sure their flank is watched properly here. Worthy and Digital are the two remaining to try and clutch this out, and they've only got 50 seconds. So time really against them. LFO in such good positions, it's gonna be really, really hard for Elevate to pull this one back.
Worthy gets his drone taken out as he tries to attempt some intel gathering before they drop blue nades. Coming up Digital as well as flashes. They do manage to get their way down, but that mirror will be providing a lot of intel as Mims manages to go massive there for his team. I believe it may have been a 4K in the end. Either way though, great performance from him. His team doing a great job in shutting down this aggression from Elevate, and that will now give them a pretty clear lead.
Yeah, they really dedicated a lot to taking dirt. And the push was good. The two-man push really got them that first kill. Maybe just overextending too much though, trying to pre-fire in through to Arsenal. It was Mims there who was ready. He got the refrag for his team. And then another C4 came out elsewhere and it was all over basically at that stage. Again, maybe Elevate just making some mistakes, being a little sloppy, overextending in that push. They got 2 more rounds to try and bring it back. We saw Consulate go 3-3 in that first half. That's still a possibility here on Clubhouse.
Most definitely is as we load into round number 5. Elevate forced down by 2 rounds. But they are attacking first, so a little bit of leeway. And also keep in mind that this is LFO's map pick, so on paper you'd expect this first half to go in their favour. And we'll really see what they have to bring in that second half where they will be attacking.
Playing a mute Mozzie combo as well. It's still a really strong combo, especially when the Thatcher is banned. Not a whole lot to be able to deal with that other than EMPs. That was really the downfall for God Legion's entry in a way in that previous round that I was very critical of. I mean, it stopped them from effectively droning it, so they decided to face check it. But regardless, that's working out effectively for LFO. sticking that combo, I think, is going to be really good for them. And I'm curious to see the differences that Elevate make in pushing this side now.
Elevate once again bringing pretty similar elevators. No, they're not bringing elevators, they're bringing operators. Imagine mixing up elevate and operators and saying elevated. Wow. Top tier. Either way though,
like it.
as I was trying to say, they're bringing pretty similar operators to the board, albeit vast on the Capital on this occasion. Digital still sticking that Maverick, expecting him to get to work on some of these walls, and Worthy as well on that Hibana. These mute gems already causing some severe issues, and as he mentioned, without that Thatcher on the board, you have to go and manually shoot them, which God Legion will. Wall now being open, but that's already wasted quite a bit of time.
Yeah, over a minute just to be able to run into Garage and shoot a mute jammer is pretty effective placement and pretty effective use. Also maybe a little slow on Elevate, and that was a bulletproof cam that was pretty effective last time as well, getting a lot of intel, and there's a lot of Elevate on this side really dedicating to taking this better. But you know what, half the round is actually burnt away, and they've only just gained the entry to CCTV, and they're still under a lot of pressure here.
Great working flushing out Agmo there. That's Castle taken off the board. That Capital really working out well there for his team. Sogs managing to actually escape cash alongside Hills. Well played there by those defenders. Able to drain a lot of time. Just over a minute left, and they should be able to retake site. Set up for this final push.
Yeah, really important that Sogs got back to site. Definitely didn't want to stick the roam with Hills there at least. Hills hasn't caused any damage at this stage. Not sure whether Elevate were aware of the fact he rotated back into Lounge. But with less than a minute to go, there is still so much map control that Elevate don't have, which means this execute is going to be pretty shaky at best, unless they can clear out these positions on site.
Digital is aware there's a player in logistics, does finally take him out. That's Mims on the Mozzie, leaving it in a 5-on-3, but Hills is in a very powerful position. He knifes one. How many more can he find? He gets the second there onto Worthy. A great play from him, but Soggers gets one as well. So that retake by these defenders that were previously roaming, proving very, very effective. And Elevate now at the man disadvantage time, pressuring them. 15 seconds left as they make their way through logistics, I believe, trying to make their way in on towards side. It looks like they have control, but they need to go for the plant. God Legion has been tasked with sticking it. Digital needs to try and find 3 to cover. Question is, where is LFO? They're taking their time in covering this. It will eventually come out though. Both kills will be executed by Sogs. A fantastic play there from him and his team. And LFO will now have a 4-1 lead.
Oh, the unfortunate timing aiming at construction there. Just as he peeked away was when that defender peeked out. Could have been a different story, but either way, that was generally LFO's round. I mean, Elevate still got opening entries. They are up 5-3 at one stage. The flank from Hills, here it is, just so devastating. And one thing that I'm going to question is, where was the comms from the Buck player? Because Hibana just seemingly didn't react at all to the fact that his teammate behind him died. And it was a knife. So that should be pretty big alarm bells that there's somebody around cash stairs. Maybe a breakdown in communication there from Elevate, adding to some sloppiness we've really seen from their Clubhouse attacks. And I have to feel if they don't get this next round, it's going to be tough for them on defense. I mean, they've had some pretty good defenses on Consulate, but they have to win 6 rounds in a row to be able to stop this and go into overtime.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Pressure definitely starting to mount a little bit here on Elevate. Definitely will want to try and win this round and at least end the half 2-4, give themselves really good fit fighting chance in the second half. But I think more concerning than the scoreline, as he mentioned, is just their overall playstyle hasn't felt as slick and as confident as we have come to expect from this team. And in the later stages of Pro League Season 11 in ANZ, Elevate were
10 seconds left.
incredibly strong. Their attacks as well,
5 seconds remaining.
so clean, efficient, and seem to be working as a unit. But here on Clubhouse, it hasn't quite been that same story. It's been a little bit sloppy at times, a couple of mistakes here and there that have compounded, and they now find themselves in a pretty big deficit. As It's gonna be a big challenge to try and bring themselves back into this one.
That being said, I mean, a 4-2 deficit on Clubhouse isn't super abnormal, but as you were kind of saying, the context here is that we would expect more from Elevate, being the first seed team in Six Masters against the 8th seed team, a team that's not in Pro League, a team that came through Open Qual, but has not had that experience. So it's not great. And speaking of not great, this entry again just been completely shut down. God Legion jumping to his death within the first 45 seconds. It's yeah, not looking good for Elevate at all.
Shots raining out here on the Camel's Wall. Digital once again tasked with trying to Mavic trick it open. Manages to get the bottom, and now he'll be tasked with breaking the top and making it soft. Should work out. Been having a couple of issues at times here, Digital, but we'll finally get this one going. Looks like it will be popped, and there we go, it is successful. So well played by Digital, and Red, I assume we're about to come across with this skeleton key, open that up and really start to expose some of these members inside of sight, and of course Mims, who is playing on that catwalk.
Oh, that fireball hit the mark, but not quite finishing it off. There's a lot of cover there, though. That's Angmo below in Oil Pit, does manage to get one pick. Not catching the other player rotating up was worthy, but boy, he's been taken low anyway, and they've got all this intel. So still looking pretty good for LFO at this stage. Elevate have gained some control with a bit of time, but there is still a solid man and HP advantage for LFO, and that just keeps continuing with Angmo finding another. He's on a triple, guys.
Angmo has been activated this round. Worthy and Digital left in pretty dire scenario here. The 2 on 4 have a lot of time to work with, but time not really an issue. More so their man count and HP, but Worthy, he manages to get one. That's Hills taken out. Sogs, though, has repositioned quite close with that shotgun. This could be absolutely devastating. He manages to not get either of them. It's actually Angmo getting the ace with the C4.
Oh my lord.
Wowee. What a big round from him, just absolutely decimating the attackers. Well played to him, and LFO with a fantastic first half.
Great defense half from them, going up 5-1. I mean, we talked about defender-sided maps and the balance and that kind of thing, and generally that can be the case on Clubhouse, but again, coming back, the class of Elevate we expect a little bit more, and they just seem to be really struggling with the Clubhouse attacks tonight against LFO. But here they are on defense. We saw them absolutely steam home on defense on Consulate. It could be a similar thing here. So again, the onus is on LFO, and if they can tidy up what they're doing with their attacks.
Very similar vibes to the earlier match this evening, in which Wildcard had a significant lead after their first half. They were 5-1 up on Theme Park. Typical Sinister with 4 rounds straight, so Elevate, they're able to continue that trend and follow through. Definitely a chance for them to bring this one back. With these bans and with this map and the current meta, attacking can be quite challenging, and despite making mistakes, I think Elevate did prove that regardless it would have been quite tough. So now it's up to them to try and make life hell for LFO on their attacks and really make it quite challenging to get any sort of control or any sort of intel on site.
Just think in general, Elevate have just really struggled to get in the game. I mean, we've seen God Legion there on 2-1 and 5. He struggled a bit on Consulate on entry. Like I said, he only netted kills in 2 rounds on Consulate. On the attack half, of course. So, attack's just generally not being in Elevate's strength tonight.
Worthy? Hello? That was quite nasty on nasty. Alright, that's the last time I'm going to say that. I'm not going to use nasty and nasty in the same word ever again. I promise.
You've been using some pretty bad nasty puns.
Oh, not bad. Not bad. I mean, that was a pretty crazy run out there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Worthy, what are you doing? I guess it worked, so good on him.
Surprised he didn't fully get eliminated on the rotate back there. Felt like that Was a long time he was exposed for, and only to lose about 30 HP. Probably pretty lucky. Oh my lord, what is this face checking? I'm not really sure what's going on there, guys. Elevator found another 2, and it means it's a 5 versus 2. This could be similar to Consulate, you know. It really feels the same vibe. I don't know what LFO are doing on attack, whether they're just not utilizing their drones or... Yeah, I don't know. But either way, Elevator capitalizing for sure, and we might see a comeback, but I'm not going to call it yet.
Angmo misses his shots there on to God Legion, who will shut him down, leaving Mims in a 1 on 5. His position has been revealed above. He makes his way over towards Dirt, and he'll see if maybe he can salvage this round. Maybe he'll even just sit outside here and his team can have a little bit of attack timeout. It looks like that may well be the case, so we can have some scenic views of Oregon. Not Oregon, of Clubhouse. I butchered that. Yeah. Oh. Wow. I would be very bad working for like a tourist firm for Clubhouse if I can't even get the name right.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of tourist firm would be taking people to a bikies clubhouse, though. I mean, that sounds pretty sketchy to me.
I don't know, it might be a tourist hotspot, I'm not sure. Oh, maybe.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, actually seeing some gunfights, and you know what? He's just going to go straight to site, and he's going to find himself 2. Maybe he's given himself an opportunity without the diffuser, that being said. So Elevator decided to push up towards the diffuser, and he's got sight all to himself, but it's actually not going to matter.
15 seconds left.
It's just Mims taking us on a tour, a virtual tour of Clubhouse.
10 seconds left.
10 more seconds left, and the tour will expire, so enjoy it while you can. It's always funny seeing a site just completely abandoned. Why aren't you planting, Mims? Hashtag, what are you doing?
I don't know. Was that foreshadowing, man? He went next to a broom. Is he signifying reverse sweep? I don't know.
Oh, that is... I think you just leaked the script, Raven. What are you doing?
Oh, whoops. Let's wind it back. So Elevate, they've won their first defense round, which is double their round count so far, guys. It's looking a little bit better for them.
Yes, it is. And it may well look even better when when the match is complete. But we will have to wait and see, because we don't know what's going to happen, do we?
Stop talking about it, man. You're ruining it. Far out, guys.
This will be my last time casting. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Anyway, Elevate. They are moving on now. They're going to be playing gym and bedroom again. This is exactly what we saw with LFO. They opted to do gym bedroom ahead of CCTV, which was opposite to the earlier series. So pretty interesting differences there between teams and their preferences. What Elevate have in store for LFO, because LFO looked very, I don't even know what the word is. Sloppy is one way to describe it, because they face checked a lot of that top floor, and that was to great turmoil, if you want to call it that. So they're going to have to get a lot better on entry if they got any chance of winning any of these rounds.
Interesting roam there from Elevate. Trying to bring some counter aggression possibly below.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Interested to see how LFO decide to approach this round.
Recovered the bomb diffuser.
Quite a bit of head checking in the previous one, which quite clearly didn't pay off. So maybe they'll rely a little bit more on intel and use their drones to full effect. We now see them making their way over towards Jacuzzi, and I'm expecting them to get it open, and here we go.
Look, this is some good progress. They get this open nice and early. That's a big step forward, cuts a massive rotate between sites there that the defense can't use, but also gives you easy access into site. Comes down to clearing out those defenders. And there's a pretty solid roam towards CCTV cache, so maybe LFO decided they don't want to go near that.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Slugs now will come along to show that soft wall. He does. And he will say, see you later, and head back down below. Nasty will use that opening to drone ahead, and it looks pretty clear. Elevate investing quite a lot of their efforts over on the other side of the map, down towards Cache. Vast is on a pretty extensive roam alongside Worthy, both a long way away from site. Need interesting to see what impact they have on this round. Worthy, does he see the player up on the balcony? I don't think he did. That could have been a great way to start the round. But it will be the other way around. Hills dropping Vast. So that is the Mozzie off the board.
Yeah, and actually Worthy almost got himself a pick. He was all the way down in container, in dirt. And he was just waiting for that Zofia to go into the vault animation. He would have had that pick. Just missed it, and then just missed it again with that garage peek. So not working out. Speaking of working out, though, Angmo, oof, he has got some picks on this attack, and actually he was fragging out on defense as well, getting that ace in the final round. So Angmo is stepping up a lot on this map, and this is looking a lot better for them on this attack.
Still a long way to go though, 45 seconds. Elevate well and truly still in this round. The double hatch drop will come out through Logi. It does pay off. It was actually a team kill in the end, but Elevate don't really make it pay. God Legion now left in a 1-on-4. If there's a player left on the team, you want it to be him, but not even God Legion can stop that. LFO now on match point, Raven. I didn't think I'd be saying that tonight.
Yeah, and it's 6-2. It's not even like it's a 6-5, really, really close affair that you might expect out of a matchup like this. It's actually a bit of a smacking in the other direction. So Elevate have 4 rounds successively ahead of them if they wish to get it to overtime and save the map. Otherwise, they face dropping the map and, you know what, actually dropping their head-to-head series with LFO because of the round differences.
Very fair fact to bring up. Elevate really needing to crawl some rounds back here. CCTV and cash will be attempted by them. It's going to be very interesting to see how they try and approach this. What level of aggression they're going to try and bring to the table. Or will they maybe play a little bit more passive on side? We've seen them really bring a mixture of both, but with the stakes being so high here, it's interesting to really guess what they might attempt here. I don't think even they would have expected to be in this sort of scenario. Again, LFO, the one and only team to make it through the open calls. They're the bottom seeded team here. Elevate, the top seeded team. The expectation was that Elevate would come into this quite confidently and pretty much sweep LFO away in a 2-0, but hasn't quite worked out like that so far.
No, it really has not been easy at all for Elevate, as a lot of people were probably expecting. But they're really pulling out some good performances here. Sog's reprising a role on Nook as well. See how that pans out for him. Worthy looks like he's going to play maybe on a roam. No, he's going to make the side. Another player on Elevate, you know, who hasn't really gotten into the game on either map tonight is Red. He's another player that had a great season in the regular Pro League, but just hasn't really done much tonight at all. Of course, playing support roles, but had been fragging out. It's just not happening.
Aggressive play there. Side of palm. As memes will be dropped by Vast. Yeah, will drop Vast. Sorry, did I say he was dropped by Vast? I think I did. But Vast is actually the one who's taken down. Something we didn't mention is Sogs. He's playing on the Nook. He's currently sitting below. Crouch walking around. Of course, if you activate that ability, not only is it very difficult for cameras to see, but if you're crouching around, it's also very, very difficult to hear you as well. You can use that to full advantage and try and maybe catch anyone dropping that hatch later in the round as more shots firing out. That's Worthy dropping Angmo. It's now a 4-on-4.
Yeah, Nasty got tagged quite low as well on HP, potentially from those smoke babes as he was trying to maverick the wall. No one's actually opened it, and oh, that's a really ill-advised push up the cache stairs to hit that wire. No one covering him, so really much a sitting duck for the smoke to peak, and that means Elevator taking back complete control of the round. It's a 4 versus 2. Nasty on 50 HP. So Elevate maybe able to string this together again and survive another round.
Mims does make his way through though and gets one. That's his second for this round, but God Legion makes it a 3-on-1. Mims now needs to find them all. That's his triple for the round. He'll need an ace to win. He does have a minute to play with and the diffuser that he can bait out. Attempts it once, it falls off. Attempts it for a second time, and Maybe I'll try and stick it. There is a drone there to try and cover him. But there is also a bulletproof camera giving full intel here to Elevate. It's to his left, and it's not really going to be possible to take it out, as another attempt will come down by Mims. He may well be able to stick it on this occasion, but no, he fakes it out. He drops Gold Legion, he gets the second onto Digital. That's the ace for Mims. The map going in favor of LFO. What a way to end that encounter. Mims, you are an absolute machine. That was disgusting. He never should have won that round, but there you have it. LFO will draw out the series tonight, one apiece.
Yeah, and like I said, they're going to end up taking that mini-series head-to-head there with the round count, 7-2, as opposed to Elevate getting a 7-4 on map 1. So yeah, big surprises from this series tonight. Look, I'm gobsmacked. That clutch was nuts, dude. Maybe just some mistiming there from Elevate. Again, their attacks looked really sloppy. That's probably the word I'd use to describe the way Elevate played Clubhouse. It just looked a little sloppy. And LFO was not immune to that either. But at the end of the day, they were the one that ended up putting the rounds on the board.
Yeah, and I think both teams, as you mentioned, did make mistakes, but it definitely felt like LFO were the team that were capitalizing on that more so than Elevate were. And I mean, the round count shows it at the end of the day, 7-2. That's a pretty big deficit. It wasn't like it was down to the wire due to, you know, a couple of mistakes in one particular round here or there. It felt like it was pretty consistent throughout the map, and that did not really feel like Elevate at all compared to what we're used to.
Yeah, and look, they had a pretty inconsistent performance against Wildcard as well. And I mean, like, Wildcard's a bit of a different beast, but they got it handed to them by Wildcard and Pro League on 2 maps in that series. And that looked very uncharacteristic Elevate, but then they backed it up with a great series against Fnatic. And it kind of feels like a similar fashion tonight. They played okay on Consulate, especially with defenses, but Clubhouse was total fail mark as far as I'm concerned. They only got the 2 rounds. The rest of it looked pretty sloppy, and stuff like that just happened, that 2v1 clutch, just normally wouldn't happen against a team like Elevate.
I guess we've mentioned that Elevate haven't really played like themselves and it was a little bit sloppy. Maybe let's delve into that a little bit deeper by what we actually mean by that. What in particular in Elevate's game could you see that didn't really feel like them or was uncharacteristic of them and did sort of appear to be sloppy on surface value?
2 big things that stood out for me. One was the round where Gold Legion was playing Jackal and entered Garage, which seemingly felt like a face check. They tried to drone through the Garage drone hole, which is from like the main entrance side, and there was a pest there. So Gold Legion just pushed in, and there was a player in Garage, so they got a free entry pick straight away. The other one was when Hills was flanking up Cash Stairs, and he knifed the Buck, and Habana was in Cash and did not react to that at all. That feels like a communication issue based on how that looked. So I don't know whether it's communication or rushing or whether they potentially underestimated LFO a little bit. I'm not sure, but those are the kind of mistakes that I would call sloppy for a team like Elevate.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we can't take anything away from LFO. I think 7-2 is a very convincing scoreline. They proved that Clubhouse is a map that they picked for a very specific reason, because they were pretty proficient on that map, albeit maybe that one attack where they were just running in and it seemed to be pretty mindless. After they tidied that up and managed to hit that massive clutch in the final round, I think it proved that Clubhouse is a map to maybe even ban against LFO in the future now.
Yeah, well, note to the rest of the teams that have to play LFO, maybe Clubhouse isn't worth bringing LFO to, but like you said, we're going to be very critical of Elevate because they're the team we all know. They're the #1 seed. That's a big story here, that Elevate have underperformed, essentially. But of course, all credit to LFO. They put the rounds on the board. And while they also had some sloppiness, they were the ones that came in with little expectations, and look what it's got them.
Well, LFO had a massive second map there, 7-2 in their favor. Let's have a word to Enigma, LFO's coach, and see what he thought.
Hey guys, how are we going?
G'day, mate.
Hey, mate.
Congratulations on taking that second map. Of course, 1-1 in the series. How nuts was that clutch? What was your reaction to that? Because that was, that was on another level.
If you could hear the comms, holy moly. It was actually like I'm on the edge of my seat. Like my heart is racing right now because I'm thinking, God, I don't even know what's going on. And then they all start screaming. I'm like, wait, we what? And then we just lost it. Yeah, it was unreal. It was unreal.
I can imagine. I want to ask you about Consulate because you guys
Yeah.
look pretty good on defense on Consulate, but then you really struggled on the attacks. Was there something in particular about that was a big hurdle for you guys?
Yeah, we were trying to think about the way that we were going to play up against them, and we just failed to adjust. It was literally that simple. So we kind of just put Consulate aside. We just said, look, we don't have it here. We need to take our through to Clubhouse instead. What can we do? How can we change the way we play, the way we defend, the way we attack? And consequently, as you saw in Clubhouse, things changed, and I believe that the boys really stepped it up in that map. Yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of Clubhouse, I mean, that was your map pick, and given the veto system, you obviously had quite a few maps to choose from. Was there something in particular about Clubhouse that led to you guys picking it?
Clubhouse is probably one of our better maps, as you can clearly tell. We have done it a lot. Now we've just completely dry runned it. We've gotten a multitude of, I guess you could say strats on attack, strats on defense that we can work around with. So we've really grinded that map and another 2 maps out. So I guess, yeah, it's just one of the better 3 maps that we've got.
Well, I think tonight you probably proved a lot of people wrong with their expectations.
Yeah.
Taking on Elevate. You have TBD next week. What can we expect from you guys? Because if you can continue this form, you might be a real chance at taking the series.
I guess at the end of the day, I just tell everybody to show up to the stream. If they were expecting, Elevate to go 2-0 on us, as the rookies, as everybody was calling us. I mean, sure, we're new to the scene, but this proves otherwise. So just come next week and we'll see what happens.
Awesome. We'll leave it at that, mate. We appreciate your time. We'll see you soon.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll see you later.
Oh, bit of a cheeky dig. I
Good
like
insight.
it. I like it. That's
Some
good.
good insight. And yeah, I mean, like he's right. If people are wondering what they're going to do, come and watch them because, I mean, just as you've seen with us, they're a bit of an unknown. It really brings that X factor. And it's not like we haven't seen this in teams before around Rainbow Six. I mean, there's some really popular names to mind. Team Empire, for example, came completely from Challenger League into Pro League, and in their rise to total glory, they seemingly came out of nowhere and were pretty dominant. I'm not necessarily saying LFO have a bit of a Team Empire story happening, but it could be. And so it's definitely a good reason to tune into their games and see what they can do, because tonight, I mean, 7-2 on Clubhouse against a team like Elevate is pretty good. Of course, Elevate had their issues, but you still have to capitalize on that to actually win the rounds.
And I think it's also really critical that we emphasize the fact that LFO stands for looking for organization. So unlike many of the other teams here in ANZ, they actually don't have the backing or the support or the facilities that an esports organization can provide to some of these other teams, effectively giving them a little bit of a disadvantage or a handicap. So if they can perform well without that representation, when they get it, that's going to be pretty dangerous for the other teams, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And they've just made a solid statement to any orgs interested. Look, it looks like they've got some pretty good stuff in them, and they're a little bit green, but yeah, like you said, with some support and some development, who knows what could be possible.
Well, Elevate, of course, a team with some support, not with the greatest result tonight. I think they'd be a little bit disappointed they didn't take it 2-0. What do you think's running through their heads at the moment? Because it's early days in the season. You want to beat yourselves up too much and compromise the rest of your run.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like top teams haven't dropped points before that they shouldn't have, but that doesn't mean they're going to be happy about it. I think we'll get some insight soon, hopefully in an interview, but I think either way, they'll realize a lot of the mistakes they made and they'll be able to fix those. It's like I was saying, we saw the same thing against Wildcard. They had some pretty big issues which they hadn't really had all season, and they fixed it within a week. They had a great matchup against Fnatic the following week after that. And I think this will probably be a bit of a slap in the face, and you could say a wake-up call for them to bring it back much stronger next week.
Could you even make the argument that maybe the fact that they have been on a little bit of this break and hiatus that has messed with some of the rhythm that they did gain at the end of Season 11? Because despite the fact that these teams obviously would have been dry running, practicing, doing exercises, scrims, all that fun stuff over the break, the fact that you're not playing competitive games is going to have a toll because there's a clear difference. Do you think that maybe that's impacted Elevate's rhythm at all?
I feel like it could have, yeah, and it's always hard to say. The breaks like that can either really help a team grind into newer strengths, or yeah, like you're alluding to, it can sometimes make you struggle because you have to warm back up. But regardless, you're a pro team and you're a high level, you're expected to perform no matter what kind of break you've had. I think it's fair to be critical of them at this stage, and I'm sure they'll be just as critical of themselves.
Awesome. Well, we have our interview ready with Elevate. Let's bring it up and say good day. Hey, Vast. Probably not the result you guys would have been expecting tonight, but you still managed to draw out the series 1-1. What are your thoughts after that second map?
Yeah, very disappointing. But I don't know. We're gonna like it happens to the best of us sometimes. We're not gonna beat ourselves up too much, but yeah, we're not happy with it, obviously.
Yeah, I am going to focus in a little bit on Clubhouse. Maybe walk us through some of the stuff that was happening, because we've talked about that maybe it looked like you guys were having some struggles. Could you give us maybe some insight into that?
Yeah, so kind of with the new format of Six Masters, it's, you know, ban, pick. So you got to be ready on every single map. And I think Club is just a map we kind of neglected a bit too much in our prac. You know, we had to get ready for every single map but Villa. And I definitely feel like Club was the most neglected map in our map pool leading up to this game.
Okay. Yeah, and something actually, I guess this might play into it. We were talking about this before, is the break sometimes can affect teams two different ways. Do you feel like the break then has maybe just caused your prep to be a little more difficult given the way the veto's changed?
I don't think so. We didn't even really take a break after the last Pro League. We had like maybe 1 or 2 days break and we're back into it. Yeah, I don't think it was the break. It was just definitely on the day stuff. On the day mistakes as well.
Awesome. Well, you guys have Kanga next week. Any thoughts heading into that matchup? Again, another lower seeded team coming into this tournament.
We're definitely going to do better in our prac, make sure that we have a balance of the maps that we're pracking and preparing for. And yeah, we're going to go into it with kind of the same mentality we have every week. You know, take all our opponents seriously. And yeah, we'll try to get as much points as we can.
Awesome. Well, Vast, we appreciate your time as always. All the best in your next match, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Hey, mate. Oh. Feel a bit sorry. Oh, that was a bit, yeah. Oh, bit rough, but
a bit rough.
I mean,
It's always like that.
probably actually you'd expect. Yeah, I think especially the fact that it was off the back of that crazy clutch as well would have been pretty deflating. I mean, throwing, if you want to call it throwing, or losing around where you have the man advantage is difficult at the best of times. But when you're losing a map and losing it in that fashion, I think that would probably take a bit of a toll.
Absolutely. And they'll go back over that and they'll question a lot of the decisions they made and the way they played it and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they just have to focus on improving and change it next week, because it's one thing to have a once-off bad performance, but if they string multiple together, such as maybe losing a map to Kanga next week, well, then that's a bit of an alarm bell.
Well, that wraps up the matches for this evening. Let's have a look back at all the games that have taken place and recap the results. Looking at the first series, it was, of course, a wildcard taking that one 2-0 against Team Sinister. And I think that one was maybe a little bit more lopsided than we expected, Raven.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Sinister had some really great rounds, but wildcard just looked too good. Theme Park came pretty close, 7-5. At the end of the day, wildcard, again, though, too strong, looking like they're climbing back to the top of the ladder. And I mean, after tonight, they will be at the top of the ladder, for now at least, given how the Elevate LFO series panned out.
Yeah, of course, one map going to each team. It is a best of 2 format, so both those teams will go home with equal points. But critically, as you mentioned earlier, Raven, LFO actually get out of that head-to-head with the round advantage, and that could prove massive come later in the season.
It really could. That's the stuff that will come back to bite you. And if LFO continue to have a really good season and Elevate struggle a little bit, there's a chance that they could finish on equal points. And there's quite a big prize pool for Six Masters, so every position counts for actual cash. So not having a head-to-head against any opponent is definitely not a great position to be in.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that we mentioned earlier about Elevate. The fact that they're versing these lower seeded teams, if they start losing one map here, one map there, yes, it costs them now, but then think about all the other higher seeded teams alongside them that might be just breezing past LFO, for example, 2-0 and then 2-0 Kanga. That already starts to compound a massive gap when we look at the season standings like later. It's going to be massive. So I think Elevate really need to dedicate to pushing hard, taking Kanga super seriously, just try and decimate them 2-0 and at least try and recover something from what has been not an ideal night for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just puts more pressure on the harder matches, so to speak, quote unquote harder, against teams like TBD that finished higher. A wild card, for example, it means they can't drop as many points on that, like you were saying. And that's not great to have at the end of the season when it's already high of pressure. Having that additional pressure from early losses can, be a real pain.
Well, that concludes Playday number 1 of Six Masters 2020. We hope you all enjoyed the show. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We hope you can join us. We'll see you then.
My mind's on mine and it won't forget. You bring me back from my darkness black. It's the soul in me and the heart I have for you. It beats for you, it beats again. Oh, you bring me to life. 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 Bring me to life. Oh, you bring me to life. Now you bring me back to life. Bring me to life. No. Can't stop to my side. Try to run on a faulty line. I'm safe, even though we burn from the light I bleed. But she bring me back, not a heart attack could take away